This is World of Business, your weekly cutting-edge business show where we delve deep into the trending business issues and latest developments on the stock markets. We also hear out the unsung but thriving business entrepreneurs on this program. Hello and welcome to this week's edition of World of Business. My name is Malvin Matala. Now, on this week's edition of World of Business, we are looking at what President Emmerson Mnangagwa said last week, that government was working on a structured currency as part of efforts to foster currency and economic stability. Now, today we are going to analyze the fundamentals surrounding this issue using commodity-based currencies as a means to ease inflationary pressures on the economy. Now, as always, we bring guests into the studio, and I am joined by Dr. Ithiel Munyaradzi Mavesere, who is the chairman in the Department of Economics and Development at the University of Zimbabwe, also an economist. And we also have Dr. Friedrich Hamadziripi. He is a senior law lecturer, also at the University of Zimbabwe, but now specializing in banking and finance law. Gentlemen, welcome to World of Business.
Thank you.
Now, to go straight into the conversation, amid speculations that around currency reforms, the Minister of Finance and Economic Development, that is Professor Muthuli Ncube, last week hinted that there was need to have stability in the domestic currency, linking the exchange rate to some sort of hard currency, for instance, your gold. Now, what does this entail in layman language? Help us understand all the people out there who are watching. What does this mean?
Thank you so much, Malvin. What the minister was saying simply means that when a currency is backed with an asset, commodity, or gold, like in our context, what that simply means is the value of the currency will be directly linked to gold. So, for example, if in the context of Zimbabwe, if the government is to agree that we are using gold to back our currency, that is known as the gold standard. So what that simply means is, for example, the government has to set the price of gold at which that it has to be sold at. For example, let's say they've said 1 gram of gold will be sold at $10 US. That simply means that the value of $1 bill is a tenth of the gram. So the government must have corresponding reserves of that same gold in its reserves. So if you are saying that there is $2 billion US in circulation in Zimbabwe, then there has to be a corresponding value of that gold in the reserves of the government.
Now, Dr. Mavesere, this means that the currency is going to be very firm. Does this mean now that the reign of the United States dollar in Zimbabwe might be over if we are now doing this?
Yeah, thank you very much, Malvin. If we strictly follow that, then you'd find that the use of we will have trust and confidence in the use of our own currency. And so if people believe in the value of the currency that they have, then obviously there is no need for us to use the US dollar. But if we don't have confidence, if we don't have the faith in the use of our currency, then you'll find people reverting to the use of the US dollar. And the reason now is that we have gone through cycles of currency reforms. And so the economic agents now at times become a bit skeptical in terms of introducing new currency reforms. And so what is needed first and foremost is, of course, some kind of consistency in terms of using this structured currency.
Okay, so now let's talk about the US dollar. It has seemed to be the dominant currency over the years. How did we get here, and what can be done to learn from the experiences when we are using it up to now?
Yeah,
Dr. Mavesere.
Thank you, Malvin. The US dollar, the US economy itself is a very big economy. And so the US dollar has been stable and a reliable currency over a long period of time, since the Bretton Woods institutions of 1944. It has been dominating to the extent that every country would have the US dollar as its reserve. And so that dominance will still continue because of the stability of the US dollar and because of the size of the economy of the US economy. The US economy is one of the largest economies in the world, and therefore it dominates world markets, financial markets. And so everyone would want to exchange the US with their own currency. And so you'd find that the US dollar will continue dominating the currency market.
Mm-hmm. Now, Dr. Hamadziripi, Dr. Mavesere earlier on talked about the reforms of our currency that we had in this country. Now, since Zimbabwe's independence in 1980, the country has introduced new currencies several times after citizens and businesses shunned the previous money. The present day money that we're using, the currency right now, was introduced in 2014. And in yesteryears, we have seen the introduction of gold-backed digital tokens and gold coins. What now are the economic fundamentals surrounding the ineffectiveness of these currencies, and what should be pursued going further on?
Thank you so much, Malvin. There are a couple of fundamentals that have to be addressed before these currencies can be effective in our country. For example, we do not have a thriving industry. I'm talking about the agricultural sector and the mining sector, which are pillars of our economy. So to begin with, if these two sectors can stabilize in terms of output, then we can be able to strengthen our manufacturing sector. If you look at all the serious economies out there, they have a very strong manufacturing sector. So we can start by equipping these two sectors, which is the agricultural sector and the mining sector, so that they can enhance their output. Then also we need to deal with the issue of the parallel markets that we are having. We've got multiple exchange rates all over. So if we can address that, then I'm quite sure that we would have done something, would have laid the foundation on which these currencies can come and rest upon.
So are we saying that if all these things that you're talking about are put in place, they will deal with the inflationary pressures we're facing right now?
Chances are very high, because as long as the industry is low and we don't have output, then we will keep on struggling because we are not exporting anything. We are relying on imports, which will put a strain on our economy. Yes.
So now let's talk about this structured currency, Dr. Mavesere, that the president was talking about. The Treasury has also hinted that the linking of our currency to an underlying asset such as gold. What are the opportunities and threats that are associated with this?
Thank you very much, Malvin. Yes, there are opportunities in that there will be a currency stability once we introduce that, which is a good opportunity, value stability of our own local currency. And also, you will find that credibility of the currency itself. If it's stable, then it maintains its primary function, that of being a store of value. And so it will be a credible currency. And the most important thing is, and the most worrying economic variable is inflation. And so you'd find that once we have a structured currency, which is stable, which is credible, then we tame inflation in the process. And so the inflationary pressure will inevitably go down. That's an opportunity. And also there will be potential for further attracting foreign investment in the economy, which means there will be enhanced economic growth as a result of this structured currency, once it's implemented in its proper way.
Well, thank you very much, gentlemen. Well, that's it for the first edition of our show. We come back in the second segment as we continue with our discussion and look into the economic fundamentals of the structured currency that President Emmerson Mnangagwa was talking about. Welcome back to the second segment of World of Business, where today we are discussing the fundamentals surrounding the use of commodity-backed currencies as a means to ease inflationary pressures. I am still joined by Dr. Ithiel Munyaradzi Mavesere. He is the chairman of the Department of Economics and Development in the University of Zimbabwe, and also Dr. Friedrich Hamadziripi, a senior law lecturer at the University of Zimbabwe as well, but specializing in banking and finance law. Welcome back, gentlemen.
Thank you.
So now, in the past, we have seen the introduction of gold coins and gold-backed digital tokens, and there has been notable change in terms of controlling the exchange rate. So it seems now to be pro those people who are wealthy, rich. What about now the ordinary citizen? Is it catering for them?
Thank you. Let's look at the gold coins, the Moswea Tunya gold coins.
Yes.
If you remember very well, a batch of 2,000 gold coins was initially manufactured, and each coin was going for something like 1,800 USD. Then you look at the ordinary men on the ground, right? How many Zimbabweans were able to have 1,800 US dollars to buy a gold coin? Looking at the current economy circumstances, right? Then from there, I'm quite aware that after that there were other lower denomination coins that were manufactured and that went into the public. But the initial sentiments or the message that was sent by the first batch of those gold coins that you have to have 1,800 USD, which was not something that an ordinary man on the street can afford.
Yes.
Yes. That's something like if 100 people can buy 20 of them, then we no longer have any gold coin because there are only 2,000. So the other message that was sent, that might have been sent indirectly to the members of the public was, okay, if they have only managed to produce 2,000 of these, do they have faith in these? If so, how come they just produced very few of them? Are they just trying to engage in try and error, or they are sure that this is going to address the economic challenges that we are facing as a country?
So now we're saying that this measure was put in place to cater for these inflationary pressures which were there at that time.
Yes.
So now how do we raise awareness among other people, the ordinary citizen, and encourage them to adopt these monetary reforms and commodity-based currencies when they're introduced for the first time? Dr. Mavesere.
Thank you very much, Malvin. Our economy is gone through various economic phases, especially when we look at the currency itself. And people have historical memories of what happened to their savings, to their deposits, to their investments. Now, when you then want to, because some currencies that were introduced failed to achieve their intended objectives. So whenever you introduce a new currency, whenever you come up with foreign currency, with currency reforms, I think the most important thing is to look at the public. The public here, I mean the common people.
Exactly.
How do they view that introduction of a new currency? Do they, because there should be acceptability of that kind of currency by the public.
We were saying that since 1980, we have been introducing new currencies. How do we do it differently now from the way we were doing it before?
I think what needs to be done before a big policy like this is pronounced, is to undertake a research throughout the whole country so that people come up with their views on how this currency can be reintroduced, so that it can have some level of acceptability.
Okay, so how else do you think that the commodity-based currencies can be made effective in the volatile economies such as ours? Dr. Hamadziripi.
Basically, I think if we address the issue of public confidence in the currency, and also attend to the economic fundamentals that I've touched on. Yes. Because we are saying that even if we are to introduce a new currency, as long as the foundation, which is these economic fundamentals, as long as they are not in place, that currency will still suffer the same fate. We have been in these circumstances for almost 20 years now or more, and I think we have had enough time to learn from our previous experiences so that we cannot keep on repeating the same error. Now it's time that even if we are to go on the ground like what Dr. Mavesere said, and we talk to those people, the ordinary men on the ground. If you are to take, for example, when the gold coins were issued, someone asked that, is it even real gold? So there are such questions that are in the heads of the ordinary Zimbabwean walking down the street, but there is no one to answer. So even if that currency is to be issued without those questions having been attended to, they will not be willing, and that currency may not be acceptable. And people will keep on resorting to the USD and not accept our own currency.
So we need to make sure that the public has confidence in the currency first,
yes,
before we introduce it.
True.
Now, as we conclude our discussion, this is a very critical question. Questions have been asked concerning the complementary role between your monetary policy and fiscal policy. Any comments on this? Dr. Mavesere, maybe you'd like to start to respond on that.
Okay, thank you very much. Yeah, we need to take note of the fact that the two policies are the two major macroeconomic policies. And therefore, they complement each other. They are just two sides of the same coin, to be simple. So, the only difference perhaps are the tools that each policy uses to say, if it's the fiscal policy, you need to use government expenditure and taxation. And for monetary policy, you use money supply to control money supply and then interest rates. But basically, the objective is the same, to say you want to see at the end of each policy pronouncement, you want to see how it impacts positively on the economy. That is, the end result should be economic growth. So the policies are complementary. They complement each other. No policy can work on its own.
So they have to complement each other.
Yes.
So Dr. Hamadziripi, judging from what he said, can he now say that there will ever be a central bank autonomy?
It is possible. Actually, the IMF encourages some level of central bank autonomy. But in the context of Zimbabwe now, we have to consider the circumstances that we are in currently. For example, like as Dr. Mavesere said, when talking of monetary policy, we refer to aspects such as quantitative easing, which means at some point we might need to control the amount of money that is in circulation. But the problem now is more than 80% of the transactions are done using the US dollar, which we do not print locally. So even if we were to do that, we first have to make sure that we have enough reserves of that currency before we can have an effective monetary policy. Then on the other side, you have got taxation and expenditure, which is done in both the local currency and the USD. So there has to be some level of autonomy indeed, but that autonomy has to be met with relevant, accountability and transparency in the financial markets as well.
Well, limited time, so much to say. Gentlemen, welcome and thank you for taking us through this discussion as we were discussing such pertinent issues that affect everyone within our society. Well, that brings us to the end of the second segment. Join us in the third and final segment as we give you the Entrepreneur of the Week. For now, we take a short break. The third and final segment of World of Business, where we share the spotlight on our Entrepreneur of the Week. Now, this week, the World of Business team spoke to engineer Trevor Muzungu, a beneficiary of the Education 5.0 model, and has started his own water treatment plant. Let's hear more from Sela Marere as she speaks to engineer Trevor Muzungu.
Through the Ministry of Higher and Tertiary Education, the government of Zimbabwe adopted the Heritage-Based Education 5.0 model, which places emphasis on research, innovation and industrialization. It is important to note that there are citizens, especially the youths, who are taking part in implementing this model to develop the country. It is in this spirit that today we're joined by engineer Trevor Muzungu, who has started his water treatment business and is going to tell us more about this in this conversation. Hello, Engineer Muzungu. Thank you so much for joining us, and it's our pleasure to have you.
Thank you, Sela.
Okay, so as we start the conversation, who is Trevor Muzungu in short?
Okay, Trevor Muzungu is a proud chartered chemical engineer. Studied at NAST and I'm into water treatment business.
So you say that you're an engineer with a special interest in water treatment. Can you tell us about your business and the circumstances surrounding you starting this business idea?
Me starting water treatment business is I was once a victim at high school of a cholera outbreak that once happened at our school, and it was because of water. So I took it upon myself to say, you know what, I want to improve the water quality, especially in boarding schools where in hot areas water is a serious challenge, and you find out that bores, they are not sustainable enough to sustain a community or the whole mission. So it was an idea ever since I was Form 3, and I also got an opportunity to work for ZPC, Zimbabwe Power Company, as a water quality assistant, and also managed to work for PEPS as a quality controller, and all the experience that I managed to get from these companies helped me to start the water treatment business.
Okay. So besides it being a situation or an idea that emanated as a result of you having been a victim of cholera when you were still in school, how else would you say that your business is helping the country of Zimbabwe, especially looking at the problems that it's addressing in the nation?
So the major issue, like especially in the manufacturing process, is Zimbabwe are moving towards sustainable development goals, where water is life, and we are now speaking in terms of water quality. So my company is coming in to fill the gap of water quality, where we are saying if you want to produce your juice, it has to have water quality that meets quality standards, both for SARS and international standards. If you want to produce water for bottling, it has to meet quality standards that are required by the relative authorities. And also, we are also filling in gaps where we are saying in places where there is no adequate water, we are coming in to fill in the gap by introducing non-chemical water treatment systems that are also helping communities to treat sources of water like dam water. We are treating dam water, making it suitable for drinking, river water, and all different kind of sources of water.
This business is also coming to help in the treatment of water, which is helping to curb against non-communicable diseases such as cholera. And looking at the National Development Strategy 1, it places emphasis on clean, safe, and healthy sanitation facilities as a basic human right. What would you say about our local authorities when it comes to ensuring clean and safe water for the citizens of Zimbabwe?
What happens with water treatment is we need to make sure that the water that is coming from the treatment plant up to the point of use is meeting the same standards of water. So my thinking is we are lacking in terms of our councils, they are lacking in terms of changing the pipelines that transfers the water from point A to point B. I think that's where we need to focus mainly on changing the technology and also changing the type of pipelines that we are using, because you find out that if you go to the city council water source where they are treating the water there is meeting the water quality standards, but when it now comes out at your point of use, it's no longer meeting the standards. Why? It's because of the pipeline that the water is passed through. So in terms of technology, I think together as a nation, we also need to encourage each other to introduce these systems, because council alone cannot make sure that each and every household have quality water. They are just there to make sure that we have access to water. But when it comes to healthy water or to quality water, we as citizens, we have to take it upon ourselves to say, yes, council, they have done a good job. They've given us water. But how can we make this water meet the standards that I expect If you want mineral water, you can simply have a mineral water plant in your domestic home. If you want just normal filtered water, you can have it in your house as well.
Right, so you said there is a gap, there is need for us to embrace systems and to also embrace technology when it comes to treating our water so that it can be safe and clean for everyone. This also touches on the value addition aspect of the National Development Strategy 1. That's where I want to draw your attention now. How else would you say that you are touching on this aspect as a business?
Right, so we are adding value to our nation, especially in fighting against the most killer diseases that are being found in water. Like these days, you can find out we are fighting against cholera, and cholera is coming out from these different sources of water. I think I've mentioned earlier where we are saying our communities, they are surviving on dam water, they are surviving on bore water, they are surviving on well water, and all these sources, to us, we are saying they are not meeting the quality standards for drinking. That's why you are finding out that cholera is more like a challenge to us, because it's very difficult to make sure that these sources are being treated. But with our new technology that we've introduced, you find out that each and every source that we've managed to treat so far, we've never had cases of cholera, and we've never had cases of any waterborne diseases that are emerging from those sources of water. So I can safely say our technology is helping, especially communities, to make sure that they have sustainable, clean, quality and safe water for drinking.
So through the Ministry of Higher and Tertiary Education, we've seen that the government of Zimbabwe has adopted the Education 5.0 model, which is a major shift from Education 3.0, because this one places emphasis on research, innovation and industrialization. How would you say are some of the benefits and the opportunities that have also come with adopting this learning model in the way that we do business here in Zimbabwe?
Okay, so looking into the new policy that was introduced by our dear Minister Murwira, I think I was still at college when he introduced that. And I think we're the first people to adapt to the 5.0 initiative. And I still remember we once did a project at NAST that was to do with the lithium carbonate, the production of lithium from petalite ore at Bikita Minerals. So from there, I realized that, you know what, there's no need for us to mainly focus on us being employed. We need to develop our own model to find ways of creating employment and ways of making sure that as a nation we grow. So we have managed to introduce also packages for people who are willing to be business owners. So you find out that people, they will come and they will talk to us, we want to start water treatment business. As we make sure that we also tell them, that's a very good idea. We encourage these people to make sure that they also start their own water business. We take them from the baby steps, from zero, from maybe drilling boreholes, installing a water treatment plant for them, taking their water samples to meet water quality standards by the relative authorities like SARS, government lab, ZimLabs and all.
So as we come to the conclusion and as we round up the discussion, what would you say are some of the biggest achievements that you celebrate today as a business, looking at the time that you started and now?
So I can safely say I've managed to install, let me say, more than 5 big plants. When I'm talking about big plants, I'm talking about plants that are almost the size of Delta and size of PEPs. So we've also managed to help schools in areas where there is challenge with water, and I'm so happy to say we've so far installed more than 3 plants where we are treating dam water sources into potable water that is meeting quality standards. So to us, it's also a very big achievement. And also to small companies that we've managed to help to have water treatment businesses. You know, these companies, they've also managed to create employment for our youth. So as installing a plant, we've also created employment for those people who were not part of the plant installation, but we are now working in the production side.
as your last words and also words of inspiration to aspiring entrepreneurs and also young people that are still in college and some that are done with school but do not have anything to do, what would you like to tell them at this point?
Okay, I just want to encourage them that, you know what, there's nothing that is difficult under the sun. And as we all know, there's nothing new under the sun. What you all need to do is you need to make your dream come true. And making your dream come true is not only about you looking for employment, but it's also for you looking into creating your own employment. You need to employ yourself first by working hard. And working hard doesn't mean you have to do something that is out of context, but small things. You can start by selling water. You can start by, asking for ideas from people.
An informative discussion we have had with engineer Trevor Muzungu, who has not only taught us the importance of being patient when it comes to realizing your dreams, but has also made it clear that it's never too big of a dream when it comes to what you want to become in life. You just need to be hungry for more. And that brings an end to this week's segment of our Entrepreneur of the Week. Be sure to join us again on our next segment. It's now back to the studio.
Well, that was the third and final segment of World of Business that brought the importance of implementing learning models when they are introduced in schools and in development of the nation. That brings us to the end of this week's edition of your premier business show, World of Business. I am Alvin Matala. Enjoy the rest of your viewing.